Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is your boy, Joel Cupcake. I have to say that now just because DeFonce has been trying to troll me consistently because I say that a lot, apparently. So it's me. I'm back. What's going on? We got another episode of Joel Cupcake Unedited with Nick Arthur is back again to join us. I'll pop him in here in a second. I just want to let you guys know this is the 20th episode, so we have some interesting things, some cool shit in store for you. But before we get started on that, be sure to subscribe down below. I got a bunch of new subscribers in the last week or so. I really appreciate that, so thank you. I'm also going to be transferring the audio from all the episodes to an MP3 format and uploading everything to a podcast as well. I know not everyone is a YouTube fanatic these days. I know watching requires more attention span than listening, and podcasts are kind of a big thing. And Sean Mott and a couple of other guys really kind of pushed me towards that idea. And I want, especially for like these interview segments, I want people to be able to hear what we're doing and what I got going on. So sometime in the next week and a half, I know iTunes takes forever to upload this stuff, so it'll all be online. I'll be talking about it in a future episode. And if you follow the Facebook page, which is just Joel Cupcake Unedited, or me on any of my socials, I'll also mention it on there. Anyways, so let's get started. Nick, what's up, brother?
Hi, glad to be back.
You are back. Everybody, this is part 2. So technically, this is my 20th episode, which is not a big deal to a lot of people, but this was just a crazy idea I had one night in the middle of the night. And I've really liked the way it's grown. I have some people that dig it. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I really like the opportunity that people have gotten to get to know some of my best friends in the music industry and whatnot. When I hit up Nick to be my guest, originally it wasn't even the 20th episode. We talked like a month ago about this, and it just scheduling and lining it up. And Nick was like, "Well, can I ask you some questions?" And I was like, "Well, shit." And then the skinny broke down. The skinny came. Times happened. Shit went crazy. Here's Nick. And it's his 20th episode. So I was like, you know what, Nick, let's just make it 2 parts. Have you back on again, and you can ask me whatever you want. So Nick has a slew of questions prepared for me, correct, sir?
Yeah, I got some nice talking points.
Ooh, some talking points, huh? Okay. Well, Nick has those for me. So that's what we're going to do today, everybody. I know some of my history was already covered in some of the solo episodes I did at the beginning of the show. Hopefully this goes into a little bit more detail than those. I talk a lot. I'm kind of repetitive, and I like the sound of my own voice, if you haven't fucking figured that out yet. So if this is the second time you've heard any of this, I'm sorry. If it's not, then sick. Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, I don't think a little refresher ever hurt anybody.
Wait, what?
I don't think a little refresher ever hurt anybody.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I know I've been getting more and more followers from people that I don't recognize, are like subscriptions. Sorry, I shouldn't say followers. Wrong social media platform. Trying to stay concurrent with the times and what platform I'm on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the first video that we did, I'm sure that there's people that know me that tuned in or listened to hear what I had to say, but they're probably like, who the fuck is Joel Cupcake? Who is this guy? And why is Nick doing, an interview or like a podcast with him? So let's start there by telling people who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, if you didn't poke around any of the other episodes or, deep dive into my social medias, I'm a concert promoter out here in California, and I'm also an artist manager.
Where in California?
I live currently in Monterey. I started doing shows in the Santa Cruz area and then expanded into the San Jose area. And fast forward 15 years, and now we do shows all over the whole state of California. So literally everywhere. Yeah, there's like a team of like roughly like 30 of us. And then if you incorporate like we have a couple of promoters that we like team up with events on. We like partner up with a lot of the events at 1720 in LA. The Arcphonic Productions people out in like the Fresno, Bakersfield, Central Valley area, and then the Sonoma County Metal and Hardcore folks up in the North Bay. So like we have a lot of like partners. We do a little bit of work with Chad from Bit Crusher in Sacramento as well. So if you add all that up, there's almost probably 40 or 50 of us all working together. Of course, it's everyone's in their specific city or scene or whatever, but But yeah, so I do that, and then Pinup also has an artist management division that started a few years ago. We have about like 25 to 30 artists on that. Right now there's just a lot of bands kind of on like hiatus and taking a break right now because of, nobody can tour, nobody can do shit. So,
right.
Yeah.
Music industry is shot and struggling right now.
It's just very shot. And I talked about that, like my second episode, like talks about some of the effect and what I think is going to happen and some of that nonsense. So people can go back and check that out. But yeah,
people are definitely chomping at the bit to get back. And I think that, I've even seen somebody like, hey, I'm going to throw a house show for free. The only charge is that you're going to have to wear a face mask. So people are like really wanting to I just want to kick somebody. I just want to mosh a little bit, I want to see some live music. But yeah, you get a pretty extensive network. I didn't even realize that it was that big, covering all of California.
Yeah. Like within the last couple of years, about 4 years ago, Dave Forrester. It's really hard to not say that R. That's not in his last name. He moved down to Southern California with the goal of expanding Pinup, and also he was with a lady at the time that he's no longer with, unfortunately. But whatever. And he decided to expand the company down there. And like I was like, this is a fucking gamble. Like that's like the most competitive music scene in America, short of maybe New York City and like Texas. You know what I mean? Just because there's so many venues and shows and clubs and promoters. And so I was like, well, let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can make it happen. And Dave went down there. He found Clarissa and Connor and the rest of the team he's got down there, and they've done a fucking phenomenal job. And so I was like, shit, maybe we can do this other places. We started talking to people in other towns. We had a brief little soiree into like the San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles area. Fortunately, their venues didn't really stand the test of time out there. So we might be doing some stuff out there when shows like come back. But as of right now, we don't have anything planned. And then within the last 2 years, we've expanded out to Fresno and Bakersfield and those places, and it's been fucking going great. I think we did 19 shows in Fresno in 2019, and I think 16 or 17 of them sold out.
Yeah, those inland California shows always go off. I used to
exactly.
Modesto, Fresno, Bakersfield.
Yeah, people are like, oh, you do shows there? And I'm like, yeah, but like they don't have the consistent access that like Sacramento and the other markets have. So like kids are so fucking genuine. And then also out there, it's a lot less like clicky, sometimes it's not cool to go support certain bands, or like only one specific genre of metalcore is in. And out there, like they just are like, fuck yeah, these bands are here, let's fucking party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which obviously works out in my favor because I love the fucking party.
Yeah. They don't get hit as much, so they're definitely like more hyped when they get something. And I feel like that's true. like going to Europe. When an American band goes to Europe, they lose their mind because not a lot of bands cross the pond, at least early on in their careers. Once they're a little more established, they it's a once a year kind of thing. But
I love it. Like I'm a big fan of like, I've never been overseas, but even just like the few times I went with like small bands like fucking, Arsonist Get All the Girls, before they like had really like achieved very much success, like going with bands like that to Canada was like just the people there in Canada, the response was like they were just so fucking appreciative. You know what I mean? Like
same way in Mexico too, dude. We played Tijuana one time, like I think the show was pushed back so late. We ended up playing. We were on tour with Fallen Figure, and we played at like 1 a.m. or like 2 a.m. and the kids just went ape shit. They knew all the words. It was crazy.
That's fucking tight.
Crazy. Yeah. All right.
I never gotten to go down there for a show. Actually, that's like just like in all the touring we did, because like it's been settled on and off of like, is it safe to go there or not? Mm-hmm. And then like there's only a few promoters, and it's like every 3 years, it's like one of the three Mexico promoters that pops up seems to be, like they flew so-and-so down, but they ripped him off. So like now he's not an option.
You gotta deal with the people from San Diego. You gotta talk to San Diego people and find out who is cool in TJ, because they're usually the ones that are like a little more tighter knit.
Yeah,
they know what's what down there. So yeah.
That's a fair point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So what got you into this. I want to like get into your industry background and stuff like that, but like what
That's not important.
you asked me like what got me, what was it like growing up? Like how did I get into metal and hardcore? How did you get into all this?
So I was raised like very, very Catholic, like very proper, come from like a very proper family.
Yeah, big same.
Yeah, I got into like, I grew up listening to like Journey, AC/DC, Jethro Tull, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So my dad was like rock and roll and like metal was cool with him. Like they didn't really get it per se, but they were fine with it. You know what I mean? Oh, there he is, that handsome devil. And then I went through this, like, got into a cool, like, I discovered rock, and then, like, I discovered third wave ska and, like, first wave ska, you know what I mean? Which a lot of people, when I first got into high school, that's what I listened to, was, like,
but
ska.
Did you skate?
Did I skate? No. So I come from, like, I will call Santa Cruz the skate capital of the world at one point.
Yeah.
At one point, I would say... Yeah, I was at one point in time, I would say it gave like LA as a run for its money, as like everybody that skateboarded knew where Santa Cruz was and knew about it and wanted to fucking go there. Just like for a while, it was a hotbed for shows too. Everybody came through the 831. That's not the point. I did not skate or surf. I'm a total fucking West Coast poser, dude. Like I don't even like to smoke weed, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But. Yeah, so I did all that. Long story short, I found my way into like I listened to TSOL, the True Sounds of Liberty.
Yeah,
and I got into like they had like that gothic tinge a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I got into like Nine Inch Nails, which is my favorite band of all time. And then I started discovering kind of like, oh, I like ska and punk, and I like this like gothic tinge. And then like plop right in my lap came this band from California called the Nerve Agents. Mm-hmm. And that band just was like, boom, kicked my, like, I fucking loved it, dude. Like, I love, like, that band really changed my fascination with music. You know what I mean? And so, my junior year of high school, I actually went on an exchange trip to France for a summer. I was there for a whole month. So the summer before, was it before or after my junior year? I think it was before my junior year. I went and I had a huge fucking crush on this chick that was on the plane with me. Like she had the total black and white striped Beetlejuice shirt, like the little fucking, the bangs with like the hair down. You know the look.
And she was part of this same program with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I had already kind of met her because we had like one or two classes together and we went on that trip together. Mm-hmm. And then like she actually wore a Nerve Agent shirt one day and I was like, what the fuck, dude? And so like, of course I was like such a little wussy back then. I like we were just friends. I never even like told her that I was into her. But one day we were like,
knows.
She'll never.
He's taken. Don't message him.
Yeah. Yes. Leave me the fuck alone. Fucking. And then one day we're on the plane and like, or no, was it on the plane? I don't fucking remember. We were somewhere. I think we were on the train, like going to the next part of France because we basically it's been like a week in each area of France that we were in, pretty much. Okay. So we were on the train and that was the day she wore her Nerve Agent shirt and I was like, yo, I fucking love that band, like blah, 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 blah. And like at that point in time, I had like, I'd listened to a little bit of metal, like I'd heard Slipknot, I'd heard like the popular bands, but like the people I hung out with were all like weird, like whatever old hipsters would have been, or like skater people. So like all I really listened to was punk and then like a little bit of like, the terrible generic thrash metal bands, you know what I mean? And then so she was like, well, you should check this band out. She showed me Poison the Well.
Oh, sick.
And that band just like, that was it.
And you just started swinging your arms around.
I heard, so she showed me Opposite of December. Yeah. And then from there I went and I checked out like, Feral Worlds Collapse by As Lay Dying. I got into Bloodlust by Through the Eyes of the Dead. Like, so I was like a little bit of a late bloomer in the metalcore scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was like weird because I listened to all that stuff. Like I went, and then like, I'm from the same town as fucking Taste of Blood's from, Animosity is from the Bay. I got into all that stuff and I was like, this is sick. But like some of it was like, I had to be in a mood to listen to. And then I saw her. This was obviously, I saw 2 years at the high school. And I bumped into her one day, and she was, I was telling her like, "Oh, yo, like you changed my fucking life, showing me that music, like that was so tight." Blah 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 blah. And then she mentioned to me that like, "Oh, like I don't know if you checked out the newest album from Poison the Well, because not a lot of people are fans of that." And that was like, this was like before Spotify and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So iTunes had just started, so you really had to like dig to find stuff still. But I ended up, that's around the time I started to get to know the Arsonist guys and some of those dudes. So like I found somebody, long story short, I heard Tear from the Red by Poison the Well. I found that record and I was hooked already, but that album changed my fucking life.
Yeah.
Because like I had never been a dude, like I grew up listening to like heavy rock bands where there's no screaming.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then like, so I hear Tear from the Red and they've got the cleans. And then like that was when I was like, that was metalcore for life at that point in time. Just got the claws in me, like that. The Fiction We Live by From Autumn to Ashes. Mm-hmm. This Is Love, This Is Murder by Bleeding Through. Burned Alive by Time by Evergreen Terrace. Past the Flask by The Bled. Like those are the records that really like just grab me and shape me, like Hot Damn by Every Time I Die.
This is why we get along, I feel like, because those are you literally named all the same records that really roped me in, brought me in. Past the Flask was huge. Obviously, Evergreen Terrace.
Let's just talk about that for a second. The Bled is like, people say Misery Signals is the most underappreciated band of all time, but every time they do reunion shows, people give a shit. Like The Bled was that band that like I just feel like they never made it. But if people, all these people that like what's popular now, if they heard The Bled, they'd be like, "This band's fucking incredible."
Yeah, like, I feel like Past the Flask was huge. It was, but then it turned into like,
that's like artsy metalcore, and like nobody liked it. And I'm like, what? I'm like, because that record after it wasn't any different. They got a little weirder after this third record. You know what I mean?
Like the Great American Hero or something. Great American.
Yeah, I didn't like that record, but the second. The record directly after Past the Flask was like a logic. It was like, when Poison the Well went from Tear from the Red to You Come Before You.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was like that kind of transition. But like, dude, Past the Flask, like that album to this day stands the test of time. Like, hands down, one of my top 5 records of all time in metalcore. And then so like I got into that, and then like I was trying to find the niche, and then like I found and then through all that. Somebody was like, it's funny because now I'm this person. Somebody hit me with the like, "You've never heard Norma Jean?" And like you remember Cameron from Arsonist, right?
Yeah.
The old singer. He was a dude. I was raised Catholic, like I said, and like when I met him in high school, it was awesome because like I didn't really have any friends that liked the same music I did in like the metal world that also believed in God. Or had an upbringing that was confusing to be into this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like Cameron was like, "Dude, there's Christian metalcore bands," and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, get out of here!" And so he was like, and then he was him and a few of my other friends were like, "You've never heard Norma Jean?" And I'm like, "The country singer?" And they started laughing at me. And then like I heard "Bless the Martyr Kiss the Child." Cameron even showed me Ludacris, like their old stuff. And then from there, I found like the Changing of Times, the good Under Oath record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I was like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And then like it all came full circle, and like I started hearing about bands like Haste Today, and like
all like the metalcore, post-hardcore kind of like bleeding genres. Yeah. And
I was like, dude, this is sick. Like there's a whole world of this. You know what I mean? And then I kind of at the end of high school, I was really gravitating towards like I liked some of like the crazy shit. Like I love the Number 12 Look Like You, Nuclear Sad Nuclear, like the fucking all 3 Ed Gein records are amazing.
You froze up for a sec.
Oh, am I good?
Yeah, you're good now.
Here, let me disconnect my phone from the Wi-Fi. There we go. Like all 3 Ed Gein records are fucking amazing. Like I got into Number 12.
All the grindcore shit, yeah.
Yeah, like that, dude. Like, and then I met the See You Next Tuesday guys. Like, I booked them, and then like they had 3 dates of their tour fell through. So like we literally just bought four boxes of wine, and they just stayed with me for like 5 days until their next weekend of shows. And like those dudes showed me what?
That sounds terrible.
It was great, dude. Those dudes showed me like what was that band with a robot in the name? Like it was like a super long band name. They were from the East Coast. They were like super grindy.
Not ringing a bell.
I don't remember, but like there was like, and then like there was that. So then I got into that stuff. You know what I mean? And like Through the Eyes of the Dead, that Bloodlust record is like the perfect blend of like metalcore and technical death metal to me. Like nothing will ever transcend the way that record made me feel.
Was that the Nate Johnson record?
No, Bloodlust is the
Bloodlust was the first full length. Okay.
The first full length. So they had the EP and that blew them up. And then they had the first full length that has 2 inches from a main artery on it. That record. And so like at that point, because like I had really strayed away from death metal. I was like, I don't like a lot of this. And then I heard that and I was like, oh shit. And so like that got me into more of that stuff. And then you know, I'm sure you're gonna ask me about, you know, I used to the small record label that you know, your old band was basically on.
Yeah.
And then so I met a guy named Matt Driscoll, who was the guy that did Process Records with me. And he came from this world where it was like raw punk bands. So like stuff that wasn't as heavy as Converge, but the same energy and feel. But it also dabbled with like The Locust and like Blood Brothers and like shit like that. Like that whole weird. It was offensive at that time to call it post-hardcore scene.
Yeah, it was like indie rock,
like indie screamo punk. Screamo punk was like it just kind of floats in that realm. And he did SAF Records, which had like a bunch of like those types of bands that that was not my thing, really, to be perfectly honest with you. And so, you know, I had met him. He was working at the pizza place I was working at, and you know, we had already been friends with the Arsonist guys, or I had already been friends. This was after I started doing shows, and then we started that. You know what I mean? And then now I'm just kind of stubborn, and I only listen to old metalcore. I don't really listen to that much new stuff.
I jam all the new shit. I'm trying to stay young.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get into a few of the new bands, but.
So you talked about meeting Matt, and Process.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I guess, like the chicken or the egg moment. Were you promoting shows before you started a label? Was the label like first thing out the gate? Okay, so you started promoting shows.
So I was doing shows, you know.
How did you get into that? Like, what started you promoting shows?
Well, I used to drink a lot, as you know, so I don't remember everything perfectly. But like basically right out of high school, I just got into this type of music. You know what I mean? Yeah. Down in Salinas, there was a place called Jim Dandy's that closed down the year I graduated from high school. Jim Dandy's was like, when you were a metalcore band, you came to Salinas, you played Jim Dandy's, and then you played the Pound in SF. Like that was the routine. So like, you know how a lot of bands nowadays, they play Santa Cruz and then they go to Sacramento? Mm-hmm. It was like the other way around, where they would play our hood and then they would go play the city, and then maybe they would play Sac.
Okay.
So, you know, and that's why we ended up with bands like Faith 13, Moria, No Truce. I can go on and on about the bands that have come out from the 831. You know what I mean?
Well, I've always had love for the Bay bands for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that scene had been popping. The person that owned Jim Dandy sold it. There was a guy doing hardcore, like real hardcore shows. And that wasn't really my shtick at the time. Like I wasn't really about like, until Wake the Dead came out, I didn't give a shit about most of that type of music. Like I just specifically was like a metalcore dude. Mm-hmm. So that was, his name was Spencer. We all call him the Godfather out here, or at least I call him that. He taught me a lot about being a promoter. So he did that. And then there was this little small company doing small metalcore shows that we were all about. And then like that dude, got his, he knocked up his lady and they moved somewhere out in the middle of fucking nowhere because it was easy to buy a house to raise their kid. And then like, that was it. Nobody was doing metalcore shows. So like Pat from Arsonist was like, oh, we could just do this ourselves. Like, let's do it. So like it was like his idea. I kind of ran with it. We met this guy named Paul Sanchez.
Was Arsonist already a band at this time?
I want to say I started doing shows right around the time they started.
Okay. So what was the guy, Paul?
It's a little fuzzy on that point in time in my brain. Sorry.
It's a long time ago.
I met this guy, Paul Sanchez. He did graphic design for a bunch of dudes. He'd grown up with like Remy and like some of the other arsonist dudes, like the ones that I didn't go to school with.
Right.
So like he was like, let's throw shows. So we did it. We threw a huge fucking Halloween bash. Pat helped us because he knew a few of the local bands. You know what I mean? And like, you know, his best friend Johnny at the time, like they were like, of the young people in Santa Cruz, they were kind of who like found metalcore first and showed it to the rest of us, basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I found my own way, and then I met these guys after the fact.
Right.
If that makes any sense, because Pat and I did go to high school together. And so Paul was like, "Let's do this." I was like, "Sick, let's do it." We set up a Halloween show. We did it. We set up a few more things, and then it just kind of just cascaded. You know, Paul eventually had to leave the company. He honestly kind of left me high and dry. And then I was like, well, you know what? I like doing this. Like, let's see how I do on my own. I did it. I had a lot of people that helped along the way. You know, Pat's little brother was part of my team. You know, his name's Ethan. I had Lucy, Jose, a couple other people I'm not going to mention because some of them stole from me and are douchebags. But, you know, I just stuck with it and I kept going. And like, I liked that I was able to take bands and people from my scene and like they were able to play shows to hundreds of people and like have a real shot and like bring bands through our area that would normally maybe skip it over, you know? Because like Numbskull Productions, I'm sure you've played shows for them. Like they, you know, Eddie's been doing it for almost 30 years now. But so all the old bands always play for him. So bands still come to Santa Cruz, you know, like the Avenged Sevenfolds and whatnot, and bands like that would come here, you know? But like for young and up and coming bands, it was tight. So I like did that. And like, I've always prided myself on like bringing bands through and giving our local bands opportunities they didn't have, you know what I mean? So then when, Matt approached me with the process idea, I was like, you know, it gives me a chance to like expand and learn some stuff in the music business. And, you know, I was like, I'm liking what I'm doing. I don't know that much. I was like, but this will give me a continued chance to give more bands that I find that are getting overlooked in their scenes an opportunity. And that's the whole reason we started the process.
So what with process, explain kind of like give me like a rundown of how that started. So you started process. What was who was the first band you signed?
Arsonist.
And that was what was the name of that record with the shark?
Hits from the Bow.
Hits from the Bow. That was the first album then.
Yeah, so we did that record, and then we wanted to get like I wanted it to be a proud like 831, which is our area code thing. And so I had become friends with Drew, who used to do merch for Moria, and his cousin Taylor is the singer for Moria. And so I met with them and we sat them down, and then we put out their album No Light Ahead.
Yeah, and that was that one.
Yeah, that was the second release we did. And so like it just kind of started around everything, like me growing up with Arsonist was kind of like the catalyst for all this. Like obviously, right. You know, that you know, that girl that showed me Poison in the Well, like she really set me on the track. And then I started doing shows, and like, you know, I graduated in 2004. We started doing shows that year, and then Process came along like 2005.
Because 2000, that would make sense because I think in 2006 is when I toured with Lynch and we were supposed to sign with you guys.
Yeah, because we only did Process for like 2 or 3 years. It didn't last very long. You know what I mean?
Okay. And when Lynch fell apart, it didn't seem like you did. I don't think you put out much else after that.
No. Well, so like we were a subsidiary of SAF Records, Matt's other label. He had a financial benefactor. Right. And they are the ones that had acquired the deal with Sony Red, which is now Sony The Orchard, the distribution.
Right.
And so basically he pulled out and wasn't funding our parent label.
Right.
And so Sony basically was like, we're just taking everything you own.
That's kind of what happened with Blackheart.
Yes, exactly.
The funding kind of got yanked.
Yeah. So basically, like, even though we weren't, so like we had funded Process ourselves. Well, I got a loan from my dad and one of his business partners, which was paid back. And, you know, we did for me not knowing anything about running a fucking record label, we did well. You know, we broke even on it. So actually, I think we did better. We did better.
It was pretty reputable too. I mean, because even before I knew you personally, I knew of Process Records. So
yeah, I mean, I try to do. I've always been big on like branding and just like just, shameless self-promotion has like always been my thing. You know what I mean? Like to the point where I'm cheesy about it, and I know it. My friends know it. People make fun of me for it. I don't care because because it works. You don't forget. You know what I mean? And it's like even to this day, like some people I see people from that I haven't seen in 5-10 years, and they're like, "You still doing the music stuff?" Like they don't know the pinup name per se, or the arsenic name, or they don't remember the process name, but they remember that I fucking have put myself out there and promoted that shit so heavily that it is what it is. It
was like the little robot logo, whatever it was, thing too.
Yeah,
is that what it was? This logo. It's like a little robot or something.
Yes, we started with some cheesy like skull with a gear, and then we switched to the robot thing.
Yeah, I remember the robot thing. I was a big Moria fanboy. That shit was tough. So
yeah, that shit. That was I always called them mosh metal. Them and Hatebreed. Those two bands just get me going.
Oh yeah.
But and then now Taylor's basically my best friend. So it's great. You know what I mean? So obviously I gained a lot of and growth wise from Process. But so we put out the first Arsonist record, the Moria record. We put out there was a local band called Hiroshima.
Oh
yeah. Travis and Reese and all those guys. I love those dudes. We put out their music. We were talking to a few of the other like local bands before it folded. We were going to do Subtle Bunch of Beauty with you guys. The last thing we did before we folded. So Arsonist got signed to Century Media. Mm-hmm. And they did the Game of Life record. And then
Molotov fucked up and signed with Metal Blade instead of Century. Sorry, keep going.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, I wasn't going to bring that up because I do know that happened, but so that happened, and then basically they did that album, and then I don't remember if it was that album and then Portals. And then Century was like, we want to re-release Hits from the Bow, or if it was they wanted to do Hits from the Bow re-release after because Game of Life did really fucking well.
Yeah, it did.
So basically the deal we made was, okay, you give us basically like they paid us what was left on Hits from the Bow, which was like, I think like $2,000, dude. Like they gave us $2,000, and then the deal was, okay, we get the rights to vinyl. So we printed 500 of those double Hits from the Bow, the Game of Life vinyls. Mm-hmm. And like that was like unheard of. Like now that I know how the music industry works, looking back, Century Media giving us the okay to print vinyls of their product, like that's insane. Yeah. Like Steve Joe, who was the guy over there, who's probably who you said no to, like he's at Prosthetic now, and he's like hands down one of my favorite people in the music industry. He's always up front.
Yeah.
He's no bullshit, like he's very, very mild mannered. Like he's a good dude. And
they're definitely good peoples. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we worked that out. And like, now knowing what I know now about the industry, I'm like, dude, like we did some cool shit to come out of nowhere, and like, I always talk about how like love for the Bay and love for my scene. And like, you remember how it used to be back in the day. It was like in California, everybody thought nothing mattered outside of Sacramento and LA.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like and I know I'm not, by no means am I taking full credit for this, but like I was a part of the puzzle that like helped put the Bay Area on the map.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there were some bands, there was some promoters, there was industry there that was we always just did our own thing, made our own way, and then now everybody plays Santa Cruz again because it's like it's a hotbed for, Santa Cruz, San Jose, we have Gulch, Hands of God, No Right, Drain, all those bands are all like fucking huge and popping right now. You know what I mean? All the Spite dudes are from the Bay Area, you know what I mean? And like, they're obviously fucking crushing it and making waves, Eighth Year's been going at it for a couple years now. You know what I mean? Their song comes out at the end of the month. Oh, and you're on it. Look at that. How about that? Yeah. So
I don't know if you were supposed to drop that or not.
I don't care. I can do whatever I want. It's my show technically. But anyway, so chicken or the egg, shows came first. Everything that's happened to me in my professional career, quote unquote, all came from me being a promoter.
And then And then, so we did the chicken and the egg thing. So you definitely started promoting before you started running the label. But
Yeah.
when the label dissolved, what was like, obviously it seems like the next evolutionary step for you to be like managing bands, advising bands, what, you know, pinup management. But
Yeah.
can you talk about like how that started?
So there's actually a big gap.
You always had like the knowledge of the music industry. You've always had these connections, a larger network of people, like you were explaining earlier. But yeah, I know that there was a big gap. But pinup started when you started pinup and you started booking shows.
Yeah.
What made you want to kind of start getting back into that part of the industry with managing bands?
So when I first started doing shows, it actually wasn't called Pinup. It was called Arsenic Productions. I couldn't think of anything else to name it. I was best friends with the Arsonist dude, so I said, fuck it, why not? You know what I mean? And then I met Andrew, who founded Pinup, and then we merged companies in like 2008, I believe, or 9. But yeah, so Process disbanded basically in like, I want to say probably like 2007.
Mm-hmm. The latest.
I was really upset because like we had definitely like almost gotten too big for our britches. Like you said, we were doing well. I really struggled at that point in time. Like I was going to school part-time, working full-time, doing shows and trying to do the label. So like, I kind of hit a wall.
You didn't have a lot of room for growth and expansion because you were so
well, yeah, and Process wasn't making enough money to like bring in other people to help us. But like you said, we had that reputation. We had done good things. But then this thing comes in where they're like, oh, sorry, we're taking all your assets because your parent company owes us money, is basically what happened. Like, and so I was actually pretty angry about it. It wasn't anyone's fault. It wasn't Matt's fault. It wasn't my fault. Like, we just got in bed with the wrong person, basically, I guess is the best way to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had already done a few tours with the Arsonist guys, as you know, just because they were my best friends. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? I like doing this. Like, let's just keep doing it. So I was doing that. They were managed by Outerloop Group at the time, a guy named Derek Brewer. I was like, you know, I'll just keep touring with the guys and just do that and just kind of fucking, I was pissed. I was angry. I spent a lot of time just on the road drinking and hanging out with my friends. You know, I still booked the shows when we were home. I had a team of people that ran them when I was gone. You know, I spent about 4 years on the road doing that, with doing shows in between. You know what I mean? Because like at first, Arsonist wasn't touring like super crazy, you know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like we'd be home for like 2 or 3 months. So I'd book a bunch of shows and then, you know, it was cool because like, you know how you've been in the industry long enough. Like, you know, a lot of it is like your team is like, this is your itinerary. This is what you're doing. This is where you're going. You know what I mean? Back then, it was like the thing I loved about Arsonist is they were like, we're never all going to just wear all black on stage. We're always going to be our fucking selves and do things the way we want. Like they never just bent over and conformed to what the industry wanted, as you can tell from their fucking music, because their music was fucking insane and weird, and they were insane and weird, as you know, because you partied with them. Yep. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like one thing that was really cool was like the loyalty aspect of, even when I stopped touring with them, when they played Santa Cruz, they played for me. You know, they played a Pinup or an Arsenic show. You know, that's just period. It's how it happened. You know what I mean? And so even when I toured with them, like if, we're gone for a month, okay, the last show of tour will just be the hometown show.
Right.
Or if it was like we hit Santa Cruz halfway through the tour, I'll just stay home and then run whatever shows I have coming up. So I was able to make it work. So I did that, and then we started doing, you know, I merged with Pinup, started doing stuff in San Jose. There was a local band from up there called This Son of Yours that I thought just had like so much promise, and they were just these like dopey, young, talented kids. And like but they knew nothing. They're like, they didn't know how to network. They all were like pretty awkward and introverted, except for like one of them. And like, but their music, like they were like the local band that is like, nobody really knew who the kids were because they all went to like a different high school than most of the rest of the San Jose scene. And then like, I saw them on this random, like we put them on this random show and we were like, yo, this band sounds great for being a bunch of like 17-year-olds. You know what I mean? Basically they asked me to help them. So I helped them a little bit. And then Vince, I really liked helping them. I really liked what I was doing. And then Vince from Dear Life, you know, they're the dudes that do Loud and Obnoxious now. Vince works for Violent Gentleman now, actually. But he hit me up and he's like, I want to do this thing called the Oversight Movement. And our whole logo was overseeing the overlooked. That was our whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just managed a few bands. That lasted for like 2 years. And then we just kind of, you know, Vince and I are still friends, but like Dear Life, you know, lost their singer, you know, their label deal got a little wonky with losing their singer, and like things just kind of got weird. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we fell out of that. And then I kept helping local bands over the years, like just, you know, bands that I thought had talent or that I became really close with. Like I would just hit up other promoters every once in a while and do some of that. You know, I maintained my relationship with Steve over at Century and Derek over at, you know, now he's at Shelter Music Group, but you know, he's hopped around. The people I had met from touring, I did my best to stay in contact with, because there were times that definitely helped me out as a promoter because, you know, I don't sign contracts. I don't do deposits. I don't do all that like legal back end nonsense. And a lot of agents don't want to work with me because of it. But then people are like, no, dude, like this guy will get you you know, he'll pay your bands. It'll probably be the best show in the area. You know, like you should definitely go to him over some New Jack promoter that just has a lot of money because you want real artistic value to what you're doing. You know, when I send my bands to play with a promoter, I want to know the promoter's going to promote. He's going to feed them. He's going to hold up his end of the bargain, even if he's not paying deposits and all that shit.
And you also want to make sure that they're playing to people and they're getting that exposure. The paycheck isn't what matters. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with the music industry nowadays. It's like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get into literal arguments and email threads with agents where I'm like, okay, don't sell me the show because I won't give you the extra $500. But when your show does half your expected attendance and the bands are pissed because you had a shit turnout because you didn't sell to me, like that's your problem, not mine. Mm-hmm. And you know, should I talk to people like that? No. But after 15 years, do I care? No. You know, and then the eighth year dudes were like, I really loved their fucking music. Like that Oblivion song they put out, like just blew up on YouTube and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like actually help this band out. So I just managed them, just did it on my own. And then Josh Espinoza, who used to play in like The Wrath and Fate 13, called me and he's like, hey, listen, he's like, I know all these people. You know, he's like, I have so many connections, and like, you know, Ken from Unearthed is like a rep at Fishman, guitar pickups. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's so many people from the bands that we looked up to as kids that used to tour a lot that are now in prominent positions in the industry. Josh was like, I know all these people. Like, let me help you. Like, I want to work together. Like, let me see if I can come in. Like, you know, he's like, I know how to tour on the road. I've done a lot of that. I can be a good asset, I think, to you. So he came in and like I was doing a lot of the management stuff. He was doing a lot of the like bringing his connections, bringing his tour experience, you know, and then being in a band for almost 10 years, multiple bands, I should say, sorry. And then like, but he was good with like, hey, you know, like, you know, one of the biggest things that helps young bands is endorsements, because it helps them look more professional on paper to the rest of the industry. They save money on gear. You know, you've been a touring musician, you know, gear upkeep and van upkeep are the two most like
expensive, yes,
ridiculous expenses, you know, because the merch kind of pays itself off and pays for itself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he hit me up and we had eighth year. We worked with this local like band called Demon and Me. They're no longer on the roster, but we're still close friends. You know, I snagged Extortionist and a few other bands that aren't with us anymore. And then, you know, we met the Distinguisher dudes who are from Vegas, as you know. Yep. And then it's just been kind of like a, and then, you know, like, and then I was already managing two of the dudes in Spite were in a band before Spite. And I had already managed them a little bit and helped them. So when they formed Spite, they sent me the music. I was like, you know, this is sick. Let me see. This was like right when Stay Sick started. You know what I mean? And so I was like, listen, you know, I did a couple tours with Franz. You know, I know his business partner at the label really well. You know, he was like kind of a mentor of mine growing up. Like, let me send it out. And like, I sent that over and they loved it. They put it out. You know what I mean?
Was that Milford?
Yeah. yeah, so like I sent it to him and Franz. They loved it, you know. And then like, you know, we got Eighth Year signed to Tragic Hero, and then like, you know, we just these things started building. And so my whole point with it was like, I know, like, you know, like I said, there's a deep, seedy, shitty side to the music industry,
Yes.
and a lot of people are like, "Oh, Joel's tired of being a promoter. He's just like doing a cash grab to be an artist manager." And like, I was like, but I want to help. You know, I've always wanted to fucking help bands. Like, look,
Yeah.
you. I mean, you've seen Distinguisher. You know that it's hard to break out of Vegas.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And then like on top of that, like I know there's a lot of like bullshit, like cutthroat politics in Vegas.
Yes.
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Well, every scene has that. I shouldn't say just in Vegas, because I love the
Every
Vegas
scene.
music scene.
Yeah,
It's been my, like, you know, other home for a long time.
Mhm.
You know, like my 3 music scene homes are here, Vegas, and New Mexico. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I know so many friends in all those scenes that I love those places. But so that's always been my thing, is like finding these smaller bands that I think could make it and help bring them up. I've never really tried to swing for the fences and go pick up a band that's already established, because I'm still learning. You know, I'm still.
Yeah.
It's only been 4 years. You know,
And
so
especially like with, it would be terrible for the music industry if somebody like you, with the knowledge that you have, the experience that you have, etc., were to just like, oh, Joel's tired of booking shows, he's just gonna bow out, when you can do so much good and you can actually use your network, your connections, your knowledge to help bands do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I've done that. I'm not a band manager, but I've helped tons of people in bands. I'm gonna name drop Johnny Crowder. I helped him get his band up and running. Like I was giving him advice. I was essentially not managing, but just advising him on like,
Prison
what
or the other band.
the band before was just called Dark Sermon, but I think before that it was called damn, I'm drawing a blank, in reference to a sinking ship. And so I told him, I was like, hey, first things first, change your band's name. Change it to Dark Sermon. You know,
I actually remember that, because I found out who that band was from you.
Yeah.
They were fucking sick. Like, if Johnny watches this, no disrespect, I much prefer Dark Sermon to Prison, but
yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I have knowledge and experience and understanding, and I wasn't getting paid for that. I've helped out numerous other people too with advice and whatnot. And it, like you said, there's a dark side to the music industry, and then there are people that are trying to use their knowledge and experience and skills to drive it. And I feel like we definitely need more people like that. And it's a respectable business if you're doing it right. And it's, like you said, not just a cash grab.
Yeah.
So,
and people get so wrapped up in the bullshit. Like I have a lot of people that think, like, I literally cannot tell you how many times I've heard the phrase like, oh yeah, he steals from local bands. You know what I mean? But it's like, people don't realize like what it takes to have a team of 20 people. Most of them even volunteer. Like, there's times I'll go drive a 6-hour round trip to work a show and not make a dime. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's because I give a shit about what I'm doing. Like, I do my best to pay the locals, but it's like, dude, if I have to pay bands $2,000 to come through and play in our fucking out of the way C market scene, you know what I mean? And then only 100 people show up. Like, okay, sometimes I can't pay the local. Yeah. Or sometimes I can't pay myself, or sometimes I can't pay the 5 people that came and volunteered their time to make sure the show went off without a hitch. And that sucks. But like, that's not why we do it. And that's not what music should be about, you know? And it's like, even to this day, like, I've had a few bands, you know, like, you know, Skylar from Words Like Aztecs, he's hit me up a few times and I've just given him advice on some of his music. You know, my buddy Justin from out here in San Jose, you know, he used to play in a bunch of OG metalcore bands way back in the day. Him and I go almost as far back as you and I go. He's in a new band now that, like, I don't talk to anybody in his band. I'm pretty sure some of his band doesn't even like me. You know, but like, I don't care. He's like, I love ESP, and I know that he's been playing ESP since I used to book his old metalcore band 12 fucking years ago. Yeah. So I hit up my contact at ESP, like, hey, like, I don't represent this band, but like, can you check them out? Like, this is a hardworking kid. Like, I know sometimes you guys like to endorse people that deserve it, regardless of like their hype, because like there are some good people in the music industry, like you said. You know, I do stuff like that. You know, I hate the word pro bono, but I've done it for a lot of bands. You know what I mean? Like, I'll send people connections and resources. I'll introduce people. Like, and you know, if the small people in the music industry win and then they become the big people, then it's going to trickle down and it's going to push out the cycle of bullshit. Yep. You know what I mean? Because like right now in the metalcore scene, like 80% of the power is in like 3 different teams' hands, and I think that sucks because there's plenty of other up and coming. Not that those people are bad people or anything like that. They're not. But it's just like, you know, at the same time, they're also trying to make money and pay their bills and make sure their artists are paid. So that there's not enough seats at the table for everybody. And so all these younger bands that are coming up, unless you know the right people, it's almost like it no longer matters who your team is.
Yeah, it hurts the smaller guys for sure. So if you had, like, I think I threw out a little bit of advice that I had learned on the last video. If you had one bit of advice for bands that are trying to get some more exposure, trying to get out of their local scene, trying to start touring and like realizing their dream, what would that be? Like, what's the big thing?
You know, I think
is it marketing, social media stuff? Do you think it's networking?
Well, so
pay to get a manager.
There's like a balance. Like, I'm old school, so I believe in the time where if you are not supported at home as a band, you should not be touring. Like, that's the people that mentored me. That's how I was taught. And there are some bands that are big now that are having recessions, but when they first blew up, they were like internet huge. But like, they would go play at home and everybody wanted to beat them up or hate them because they had egos and shit like that. And so then
everybody hated us in Vegas.
Oh, whatever.
Until I joined the band. When I joined the band, it was cool.
Well, whatever. I mean, shit happens, you know. Like, I'm not going to name drop which band I'm talking about because I love all those dudes now, and we're actually really pretty close with most of them. But like, you know, I've seen it happen, and like, you know, my biggest piece of advice would be like, do the networking. Like, go to shows. There is no shame in the check out my 3-song demo that I burned in my house game. Or if you want to be a little bit more snazzy, you know, download cards cost like 56 cents to make. Make the download card, whether it's a code on iTunes, the scannable QR codes, even though nobody that's young uses those. You know, there's ways where you can just, hey, go check this out. Even if it's a business card with just like an EPK link on the back. You know what I mean? That has like just a simple like about you, list of big shows you've played, logo, live shot, and like here's 3 songs to check out. Like, do that, but like give it to everybody. Give it to the promoters. Give it to the bands, the other local bands. Give it to the people that come to the shows. Like, be a part of your scene, because the thing is like people like me, like I look at Twitter. That's the first thing that happens when a band hits me at. Like, I'll search the band's name on Twitter, and if like people are interacting with them and talking about them, and there's mostly supportive things from their local scene, but I feel like they're doing things right. You know, but if you're like, personally, you know, most of the bands I work with don't come from the like, we just want to get big playing music, so this is what we're doing, and we don't want to do any other work. We just want to start touring, you know, because as a promoter and as a manager, I don't want to do work for a band that doesn't want to work for themselves. You know what I mean? And like, you know, 8th Year, you know, they're not touring as much anymore, but like they're a band that has had great success in a national level and a local level because those dudes have never stopped working hard. Right. You know, Josh has hands down been one of the top 5 best drummers I know the whole time I've known him. That's never decreased. You know, they've had a lot of lineup changes over the years. You know, all of them have excelled in their craft. Their sound has changed. I mean, good, but like, I mean, we got them. You know, they've been on 3 different labels now. You know what I mean? Or I'm sorry, 2 different labels now. You know, like they were on Tragic Hero and now they're on Stay Sick. And like, even when I first got them signed to Stay Sick, it was like I was like, hey, I have this show coming. Like, oh, you guys want to play that Kick Strain show? Okay, like, will you sell tickets? Because I'm making the other local band sell tickets, and that's just fair,
right?
You know. And they, you know, a lot of people have always been like, oh, well, like that band got everything they wanted because Joel and Garrett and Josh were best friends. And it's like, yeah, we are best friends. But Garrett, like, I mean, dude, that kid, you know, Garrett and Josh, like them collectively, I forget what show it was. They sold 180 pre-sale tickets to a show. I gave them 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just kept asking me for more. Like, just do the work. Like, don't think that anybody owes you anything. Like, go out, network, and build a real support system for your band.
Yep.
That would be my number one piece of advice. Is
So
just like
networking for sure.
Just like networking. One, like I'm a huge fanboy of The Rock. You know, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, our future president.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
and one of his mantras is do the work. That's like what he says.
Yeah.
Or rinse do, or you know what I mean. But like, do the work. Like, nobody gets anywhere without trying.
Yeah, this bread isn't going to get itself, you know.
Exactly. You know, the bread doesn't put itself in the oven and turn the oven on. You know, like.
Well, I mean, that's helpful for me. I think that networking is super important. One thing that I kind of realized recently too is that, especially because we're getting old and you start reminiscing on the older times, you play some old music and someone was like, wasn't that on the Victory Records sampler, or wasn't that on the, and you don't realize how many people actually listen to these little demo discs. You know, do the work, grind it out. Like you were saying with the QR codes, put a QR code on a demo, hand out your demos, boom, 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 whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you look at it, and when we grew up in the MySpace days, it was super easy to like DM somebody. Oh, yo, I met you at the show. Like, I'm in a new band. Like, boom, check out my music. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, I still find bands to this day that way. Like, we have a generic contact email at for both pinup companies, for both branches. And like sometimes people just send in music, and I'm like, dude. Like, I've never heard this fucking band, but this shit is great. Thank you for sending this in. I put them on a show, meet the dudes. They're usually great kids, and like it's tight, But take the chance, do the work, you know what I mean, and network, whether it's digitally or in person, because things are different now. It's not the scene is not what it used to be.
And definitely don't be afraid to ask for a spot on a show, or ask for help, ask whatever it is, but ask.
Yeah, I mean, as a promoter,
ask for it.
Yeah, as a promoter, if a band came up to me and was like, what do I need to do to play a pinup show? Or what do I need to do, like the next time you book Molotov Solution? How can my band open that show? I'll tell anybody. I'll answer that question to anybody. I'll give anybody that advice. So you're right. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you're asking someone that question and they won't give you an answer, you probably don't want to work with them because they're probably a fucking dick.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's all I got.
We're
getting close to an hour.
Oh shit, we are. Fuck, I told you I talk too much, dude. I told you.
Yeah.
Well, was there any outro questions you want to ask me or anything like that?
I don't know. I mean, the color thing. We talked about the color thing.
Green.
Maybe let's see. What's your favorite food?
Oh man. Well, as a chubby man, that's really hard to break down. Like, if we're talking breakfast,
we're talking. If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One thing for the rest of my. One thing for the rest of my life.
One thing for the rest of your life. I had all-you-can-eat sushi last night. Remember we talked about sushi? I had all-you-can-eat sushi last night. I felt like a kid in Disneyland. So, what's yours? Come on.
God,
what's your sushi?
That's so tough, man.
Sushi's kind of cheating because there's a lot of stuff that it encompasses.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, that's tough, dude. I feel I'm gonna go with burgers.
Okay.
Because you can have a breakfast burger or a lunch burger or a dinner burger.
All right, settle the debate then. In-N-Out or Whataburger?
Okay. I can't settle. That's a whole other episode, dude.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Overall, In-N-Out.
Okay.
But everybody, I feel like when people compare In-N-Out to everywhere else, it's inappropriate because In-N-Out is a fucking place that has 5 things on the menu.
Yeah.
That's it. You literally because at a Whataburger, I'm going to tell you to go get the French fries with a tub of their homemade honey mustard, dip the fries in the honey mustard, and then get a fucking, chicken strip sandwich on Texas toast. Okay, how are you going to compare a chicken strip barbecue sandwich on buttery Texas toast to a cheeseburger? You can't. And if you think you can, you're not a fat person. So you know what I mean? Like, it depends. Like, I get more excited for Whataburger because I don't get it though. You know what I mean? A lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I'm also a side person. I'm a sucker for sides and sauces. And in that regard, Whataburger wins because their French fries are perfect. In-N-Out does not have consistency with their French fries, which is a problem. But like, I'm a sauce person, dude. Whataburger, I know a lot of people go honey mustard and like wrinkle their nose. Go to Whataburger, ask for a side of honey mustard, and dip the fucking French fries in it. And you'll thank me. Also, the fact that Whataburger comes to you with that little tray, and it's like, what side do you want?
Yeah.
It's like they're like Amazon Prime as a fast food place. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, one more question.
Okay.
And there may or may not be a bonus question at the end of it. Can you rank for me?
Oh no,
the Star Wars trilogies from worst to best.
I'll do the whole movies for you.
I just want the trilogies. Give me the trilogies.
Oh, okay. Original trilogy, new trilogy.
Wait, original trilogy is the worst?
Oh no. The best. Sorry. So you want worst? Okay, so starting
worst
at the
best. The worst.
Prequel. Fuck, dude, this is so hard. The prequels are the worst.
Okay.
The new ones are in the middle, and the OGs are the best.
Okay. Bonus question.
Oh, hold on. I have to detail that answer. But the prequels being the worst movies are the most important movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the most hated Star Wars movie of all time is Episode 2. But that is the most important Star Wars movie in all 9 films, because if you don't get Anakin secretly marrying Padme and them getting pregnant, if that does not happen, you don't get the rest of the Skywalker saga. You don't get Darth Vader. You don't get the Emperor being able to trick Anakin into becoming a Sith to save Padme.
Yeah, I think our grandkids are going to kiss one day.
I think so.
Should we kiss? Okay, bonus question. Favorite Star Wars movie?
My favorite actually is Rogue One.
Rogue One, okay. Wow.
Dude, like there's very few movies. I mean, think about it. You know, they had to make a movie in an existing universe, attach you to characters that then they kill off.
Right.
Like, dude, like the only time, like the feeling of happiness when they're at the medal ceremony on Yavin 4 at the end of A New Hope, great. You know, Vader going good again and saving Luke from the Emperor is like incredible. Like the feeling of them winning, that's like a happy, joyous occasion, but it's not like emotionally deep. Like I fucking cried the first time I watched the Rogue One at the end when they're just sitting there holding each other as the planet's exploding. Like what the fuck? And like you have never met those characters before and you never see them again.
Yep.
My only complaint with that movie is that there's too many unanswered questions.
Well, you get to see Vader fucking kick ass at the end too, so that's pretty cool.
And they actually, my big thing about Rogue One is they reveal something in there that's only ever been revealed in the books. So people that only watch the movies don't realize the depth of the Sith and the evilness. Mm-hmm. You know, the Kyber crystals that the Jedi used to make their lightsabers are the same crystals that power the Death Star.
Oh yeah,
I've been a Star Wars fan since I could fucking pee standing up, and I didn't realize that until Rogue One came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and this bookshelf behind me, over here, is like, damn camera, is like literally like the whole bottom shelf is like 80 something Star Wars novels.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Okay, what was that the bonus question?
That was the bonus question. Your favorite one. That surprised me actually, so that's cool. I like that movie a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I'm also one of those weirdos where like, A New Hope is not my favorite. Empire is the best movie, but Return of the Jedi is actually my favorite of the original 3.
I really like Revenge of the Sith. That's a fucking sick ass movie. But anyway,
I love, and I mean honestly, episodes 2 and 3, the fight scenes are so good. Like,
dude, like, Phantom Menace, the Darth Maul fights is nuts. When I was like 12, and I saw that movie, it blew my mind. Yeah.
When he fucking when he stabs Qui-Gon, dude, you feel that, bro. You fucking feel that.
No.
Yeah, you're like.
Yeah, all right, dude. That's all.
It, right?
That's it. Right? Hour and 5 minutes later.
Whatever, dude. Well, Nick, thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Everybody, thanks for watching. This has been part 2. Thank you everybody that's checked one or all 20
Stuck
episodes
around
out.
this long. Definitely.
Yeah,
Love
if
you
you
guys.
stuck around for this whole episode, fucking thank you. Like Nick, this idea was rad. Like I'm glad you wanted to do it. Like I never thought about having someone else do it, so I'm glad you were on board. It's sick.
Yeah.
It's fucking sick. Everybody, make sure you check out Molotov Solution. Nick, if they watch the end of this, let's give them a reward. Are you guys working on new music?
Yes, we are, but it's we're not very near release, so
Okay.
hope's not high, but it's coming eventually.
There you go. If you stayed through an hour and 5 minutes and 17 seconds, you have the confirmation there is new Molotov Solution coming. It is on the way.
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be better than everything.
Also, you guys should reprint that "Fuck the Police" shirt.
We probably will, but it'll probably be different. We'll see how it goes.
I showed Trina that video of you guys from Glass House that got retweeted earlier in the week, where it was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck the police," like everybody, and I was like, "That's Nick, babe. That's sick."
It's massive. That was a long time. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, Nick, thank you. Love you, everybody that's watching. Thank you. Appreciate all of you. Be sure to click that fucking subscribe button down low. Be sure to check out fucking Molotov Solution. Shit. Molotov Solution. This guy's band over here. That guy right fucking there. Yeah, this guy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Agile Cupcake Unedited.